Hi to everybody. My name is Jacent, and uh, I'm going to do a takeaway from the fight that took place last night between the IBF champion Richie Commey from Ghana, and the Mexican Ray Beltran. Um, what are my take? What do I think is the future for Beltran? What do I think is the future for Richard Commey? And what are the effects of the fight last night in the division concerning Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, a possibility of Mickey Garcia coming back to the division to reclaim his two titles that he left and went up. There are so many things going up in the division, in the 135 pound division and upward. So there are so many things to talk about. Let me start by saying that last night's fight was a good one. It wasn't the most beautiful fight you will see out there. I don't think that it was a super fight. It was a good fight. I think that let me start with Ray Bertran. I think Ray Bertran has done his bits in the business, and left to me alone, I think it's time for him to retire. I don't think that there is any more room for him to do anything, because he's done his best. The former world champion, and it was no surprise he struggled to make the 135 pounds to make this fight. So I think he's done enough. 20 years in the business is no joke. So Real Bertran has to call it quit. That's what I think, and focus on his family, or probably wants to go into another business, because he's done his part. And then when it comes to Richie Commey, I think certain factors were working against him last night. Now, if anybody who was very attentive or who had been following proceedings will realize that Richie Commey was a little bit tensed prior to the fight and even in the fight. And this is my takeaway on what may have caused all this. One, the first thing is the disrespect that it looks to be getting amongst the very few media personnel who talk about boxing, especially the guys at ESPN. I don't know this black dude on the ESPN panel for the night, and he sounds so disrespectful to the young guy. And on a night where it was about Richard Commey and Beltran, they were basically trying to promote Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko. I think it took a little bit shine out of him. We are all humans, and definitely it's going to affect our thinking. And secondly, I also feel that there are these powers in the sports who want to see a Lomachenko Teofimo Lopez fight, and if that has to happen, then Richie Commey has to lose his belt. I think it's also not fair. From my where I sit, I don't think it's fair. Um, so, and then thirdly, um, you you're a first time winner, and your major first title defense is against uh, a pro, a super pro, who prior to the fight gets a super duper trainer in Freddie Roach into his camp. And not only is Beltran a super pro, but a former world champion. So it comes a lot of tension. And then my last thing that I think, which nearly marred Richard's first title defense, was him not taking advice from his technical bench, his corner. And he did acknowledge that after the game in subsequent interviews, that he was overtaken by the desire to knock Ray Beltran in the first round, which really took out a lot of energy in him, and I think it's a learning curve for him. So I think all said and done, it was a good fight. I think it wasn't the best of Richard Commey. I would take the Richard Commey Easter fight over this one, because Richard against Easter was a toe-to-toe with Easter. And so, but the good thing is that he was fighting an older person, and so he was lucky he won the fight. Going forward, what does this do for the division? Now, it's obvious that Teofimo Lopez is fighting this Japanese dude, and when it's done, I know he's going to win that fight, and then he will then probably be Kobe will be mandated to fight him, which should be a very good fight. And after that, whoever wins that fight then probably have to face what's his name? Vasily Lomachenko. Let us not forget that Lomachenko also has a bout in London, I think against Campbell or so, which also could be a very interesting fight. So I think that the division is really is gearing up for some wonderful fights, hopefully by the end of the year or early parts of next year. I will say this. If Teofimo Lopez were to meet Richard Commey, I think it would be a very deadly and a brutal fight. And with me, I don't think that Teofimo Lopez has met anybody in the caliber of Richard Commey yet. In terms of the power that Richard Commey possesses, but all the same, let's see what happens. Let's hope that this fight takes place. And my only thing is fairness and justice. You know what I mean? You want to see a fair reportage on what every boxer brings to the fore. You don't want to feel that because of Richard Commey's background or his origin, he's been discriminated against, and that's the impression I get when I watch ESPN on the night of the fight and other things. So, but hey, Richard Commey has to just sharpen one or two things. A well coached and a well listened to Richard Commey should be able to destroy what's his name, Teofimo Lopez. What I'm not sure about is how he's going to handle Vasily Lomachenko. But the first thing will be to see this Lopez Richard Commey fight, and then we take it from there. It was a good night of boxing. I think once again, Real Bertran has done wonderful for the game and for the sports, and it's time he took a bow. And before he as somebody was saying that the knockout wasn't wasn't the right time. I asked myself, the dude had been knocked out 4 times in a fight, and let's not forget that the referees have this medical training to detect the fitnesses of some of these players. So I give the referee the benefit of the doubt for his decision that he took. So going forward, I want to see Richie Commey defend his title against Teofimo Lopez, and hopefully whoever wins that fight then has to find ways of unifying the division. I think there are very good times and wonderful times ahead in the lightweight division, and we will really enjoy some of these fights in the near future. All right, so my name is Jason Sapia. Subscribe to my page if you love what I just did, and then let's take it from there. There are beautiful times ahead in the world of boxing. Thank you very much.